I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch One. Thanks for logging on. Today we're looking at the Ball Engineer Hydrocarbon Deep Quest 3000 meter, 43 millimeters in brushed titanium. You can see and purchase this Ball Engineer Hydrocarbon on our website watchyouwant.com, and if you like these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel Watch You Want Inc. Now, the Ball Engineer Hydrocarbon Deep Quest debuted in 2011 as by far the most extreme of the Ball Watch Company's aggressive sports watches. And this is a company whose history dates back to 1891, principally known from their work in the establishment of railroad chronometer standards. This watch, frankly, is designed for a completely different type of engineer. Not so much the type who drives the train, but the type who operates in a diving bell. 3,000 meter water resistance means the case is built like a diving bell. 16.5 millimeters thick, on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. You can see that in a lot of ways, this thing's like the Rolex Deep Sea Dweller's long-lost twin. Not so much in the details, but in the thematic sense that each one is a hugely oversized, technologically impressive, monstrous stance, oversized modern sports watch in every sense. Everything's exaggerated on a nightmare scale, but I will say that between the two, the Deep Sea and the Engineer Hydrocarbon, this one wears more securely on the wrist. Now, it does dwarf my wrist. From this angle, I mean, you almost get the sense that the watch is almost as thick as my wrist is, but it is secure, and I'll show you the key to that equation right here. This is the winning solution, a case that is almost a continuous arc, basically round from the top. It's very much a vaulted shape in profile. You can see silhouetted against the white base on which I work here. These lugs are exceptionally short and exceptionally curved. You can see the edge of the bezel and then just how short the lugs actually protrude beyond it on both sides. So 43 millimeters, but this watch doesn't have the unhappy quality that some sports watches have of wearing larger than the nominal measurement. I would say that other than the heft and the thickness, it actually wears smaller than 43. So it's a good match for a smaller wrist if you like the look. And the look is going to polarize, but every element of the watch has a dual aesthetic and functional purpose. The no-nonsense 3-link bracelet looks the part, brushed with just a few beveled elements of polish on its flanks. To remind you, this is a luxury product. It is a titanium bracelet that's nice, light, and partially cambered at the level of the individual link. So the individual links have a little bit of a arced shape, and together they add up to an easy curvature around the soft underside of your wrist. Like I said, everything's aesthetic, the no-nonsense exterior, but also engineered for a purpose, true to the name of the watch. I like to call out bracelets that have a large amount of evacuation in the space between the links on their undersides, so it won't pull hair, won't pinch skin, but I've never seen a watch that has this big a channel between the individual links on the underside. It's really well done, very thoughtfully designed, and of very high quality. It's like a burlier version of the Rolex Oyster. And what you get when you arrive at the clasp is, likewise, a burlier version of a diving clasp. Now, double deployant, twin trigger, very secure. It does not cut a low profile. It stands almost as tall and proud as a standard sports watch by itself. But what it delivers is solidity and confidence on the wrist. You can see the interlocking Ball logo right here, railroad standard, of course, but we're going far deeper than the tracks here. We're going 3,000 meters, 10,000 feet deep, and when you go that deep, you don't want to lose your watch, which is why the twin trigger arrangement allows a secure closure, and when it does close, you can hear it stays that way. Very crisp, very solid. This is not a spindly spring in here. Everything's up to the standard of the watch and the promise that a case like this makes. It can definitely cash the checks its appearance writes. Now, what's nice about the clasp is that it also has a thoughtful double dive extension. Each side at the extremity of the clasp houses a small individual milled out folding extension that you can use if you do plan to use the watch over a dive suit or even a winter coat or a thick sweater. And it's symmetrical. You have one on both sides, so you can deploy one or both. It's a very thoughtful touch, and it adds considerably to the value proposition of this watch, which is just brimming with original ideas, well executed at a great value. Now, you look at the watch, and yes, it's a classic dive watch, but what's not so traditional is the fully lumed bezel. the lumed bezel is something that is by no means universal in the utility watch class. A lot of them will feature printed indices. Some, like the Blancpain 50 Fathoms, will have a capped sapphire over a lumed portion. Most will simply have a lumed pearl at the 12 o'clock. You can line it up with the minutes hand and create a daytime convenient 0 to 60 minute timer, requiring just a little bit more focus to resolve it at night. This one, no such case. Fully lumed with Luminova, it glows like an absolute torch, and it has a gorgeous kind of azure blue color to it that's really compelling. But that's only the first story of luminescence. The second story of luminescence is the contrasting tritium trasor technology that's used on the dial. Now, many of us are familiar with vintage tritium dials, but we don't have too much contemporary experience with recently made tritium dials that are still active and still functional. Ball uses what's known as a trasor, which is a glass capsule filled with a gas that's activated, that is illuminated by the tritium that's stored within. These are replaceable so that they can be changed out over time to keep the glow of the dial intense. And because they're different colors, with the one at 12 o'clock being sort of an orangish red, you know immediately, no matter your orientation underwater or the orientation of your arm, where the hands are in relation to the hour indices. It's clever, it's well executed, it is subtle. That's the one distinction I'm going to make. You do need your night vision to get a full sense of the tracers at night. The bezel is going to glow like a torch, but it will take a few moments once you take the plunge for your eyes to adapt to the more subtle glow of the tritium. So you always know whether you're looking at bezel or tritium, and then within the tritium indices, you know whether you're looking at 12 or one of the subsidiary hours. Cleverly done, well executed. Likewise, the matte finish is something we don't see enough of in dive watches. Reduces glare for shallow surface diving, but if you do want to use this as a tool watch, as a fun in the sun beach or pool watch, or a wash the dog type watch on the surface, the bottom line is that you still have excellent clarity, excellent legibility, with very little danger of glare when you are on the surface. Well done. You also have immense structural strength. Now, the nice thing about this case that's easily missed on the first pass, I'm going to open the clasp here, is that the case is a monoblock. So the backside of the case is actually completely integral. It doesn't have a screw-on or a screw-down case back. It's a front loader, so everything goes in through the front when the movement, the dial, and the hands are put into the watch. So you only have one point to seal, and Ball does that by creating an immensely strong gasket interface between the bezel, the crystal, and the case itself. So fewer opportunities for water to intrude. That's how you get a 3,000 meter water resistance. And with a 5.3 millimeter thick crystal, not only is it remarkably water resistant and pressure resistant, but the thicker the crystal, the better its chance of resisting a shatter. That is the one Achilles heel of a sapphire crystal. Although it's almost impossible to scratch, a truly traumatic hit could in theory crack or shatter it. Now, when it's a 1.9 millimeter thick standard sapphire, that's a more pronounced danger than when the sapphire is about as thick as a Jaeger-LeCoultre ultra-thin dress watch. In fact, there are Jaeger-LeCoultre watches that are actually thinner than this crystal itself. So with immense structural strength by virtue of its sheer bulk, this crystal is also a better bet to survive insults and injury on the surface. Likewise, a helium release valve at 9 o'clock, you can see that it's really more of a talking point, like a 3,000 meter maximum dive depth. I would be shocked if you ever use this. And let me know, please, if you dive to 10,000 feet with one of these, I'll send you a free gift. I have a feeling that's going to go unclaimed. But the bottom line is, it's there if you want it. If you're up to it, the watch is. And likewise, just to recapitulate how tough this construction is, twin torque screws, not a single screwed lug, as I often point out when a watch has that virtue, but twin screws retaining the end piece to the watch case, and not just twin screws, Torx screws. So outstanding ability to take a high amount of torque without deforming on a very small screw head. That's the advantage of the star-shaped Torx screw, and Ball uses not one but two per lug. Very impressive construction. Likewise, like Breitling dive watches, it uses a screwed-on bezel, so it can't simply be popped off if you accidentally snap it against a solid object with violence. This is a thoroughly considered ultra deep diver, ultra tough for whatever may encounter it on the surface, whatever kind of hanky-panky you might get involved in. Believe me, surf or turf, this is a watch that can take a knock. Titanium throughout with crown guards truly worthy of the name. This is a watch designed to survive. So whether you're the type of engineer who prospects for hydrocarbons or, in the Ball tradition, the type who shovels coal into a steam engine, unlikely in both cases, but no matter who you are, you're going to enjoy this Ball Engineer Hydrocarbon Deep Quest 3000 meter, available for purchase on our website, watchyouwant.com.